Today I'm sharing my daughter's room makeover. So this is the kids' room. It's mainly my daughter's because my son is still a toddler and doesn't even sleep in there. So he may move in at some point, but my daughter has like full control over the design right now. When we first moved in, the walls were kind of this tan cream color, which I didn't love. So I got permission to paint it. So I painted it this bright white, Fresh Popcorn by Bear. It's slightly warm, but it doesn't feel like yellowy. And that was nice. And then we brought in her loft bed, which is also white, and then my son's crib, which is also white, and a white rug. So it was just very white on white on white, and I do like that as a base for a room design, to keep it like clean so you can control the colors you put in there, if that makes sense. I don't like it when there's like shades of brown and, you know, like different tones and colors already, and then you want to add something to it, and especially like in a kid's room where you want it to be like contemporary, like, you know, very colorful. If there's lots of colors and then there's also different textures and patterns and shades of other things competing against it, I don't know. I like the blank canvas, so that was nice, but it was just super plain, white on white on white. So we needed to amp that up and do something fun for the kids' room. So my daughter said she wanted rainbows and she wanted unicorns. So we were gonna make that happen. Took me a while to get to it. I'm so slow with these projects, you guys. It's ridiculous. And so it's hard for me to put it all into one video when I'm doing little pieces here and there, and then I get, you know, involved in another project, and then I leave it, abandon it basically for a few months, and then come back and try again. And if I can't see exactly how I'm gonna fix a problem or exactly how I'm gonna make this idea I have work, then it takes a lot of time to get there and like stay focused to the end of the project. So sorry if it's all over the place, but oh, there's an airplane. So an obvious way to inject color in a white palette like this is with paint. And so we took that main white wall where the bed was on, and kind of on an impulse one afternoon when I had a little time, I painted the rainbow with like, I had these leftover paints, so it was just like shades of this mauve color, which was okay, but it wasn't great, and that sat there for like many months over her bed. The good thing was like I scaled it out pretty well. Like I marked, you know, like where I wanted the center to be centered around the bed, and then like lined up the edges so that it would curve like the same amount on each side. Like it was a good base, but like the colors were not amazing, which I knew. And my daughter, when she first saw it, she was like, aren't rainbows supposed to be different colors? Because it was all like shades of one color. So eventually I was like, okay, we need to go like full on rainbow, inject this color, do what she wants, because it's her room and I want her to love it and be proud of it. So I took her with me to the paint store. We picked out samples and got our full-on rainbow colors, and then I basically just painted over it, and I had to create like a strip above it and below it, I think, to fit in all the colors that we needed. It was nice to have that like base underneath as a guide. I did a couple coats, I think, on each color. I think the yellow needed like 3 coats to really mask that mauve color underneath. Cool and relaxing and kind of fun to get up there and paint and see those fun bright colors on the wall. And then I was really struggling with how to transition from each color. I have done ombre before in my daughter's last room, and I spent so long on it, and I did so good. Like I created the ombre so well that you couldn't even tell that it was ombre. It was so funny. The darkest color to the lightest color, there was not a big enough difference, so you couldn't really tell. And with stuff like furniture in front of it, I would have to tell people, look, it's like ombre, and they're like, oh yeah. So that was funny. Anyway, so I was kind of nervous about going down that route, and like my perfectionism making me spend, you know, just hours and hours on a project. I can so do that. And so I decided I didn't want to do that, and I didn't want to create like a perfect crisp line, because again, the perfectionism and that's just really hard, time consuming to get it perfect, you know? So I did want to sharpen the edges, like the red and the purple. That wasn't that hard to do, to kind of go in with the brush and just, it's not 100% perfect, but it looks pretty good. So what I decided to do was grab a plastic cup and put half of each color, so like red and orange, and mix it, and then do a little organic little swoop in between each color to fill it in and soften that a little bit. And so it's a little like rough. Overall, I think it looks polished, and I like the sort of whimsical organic look to it, if that makes sense. So that's what I decided to do for each color. And it's cute, and my daughter loves it, and that's what's important. She was actually afraid I was gonna mess it up, I think. She was like, Mom, I think you're done. Why are you still like tweaking it? Like, you're gonna mess it up. She's a smart girl. So that was kind of the rainbow. I didn't do the whole wall, which might have been smart to do, but I'm not planning on moving the furniture, so it stops like where the dresser stops. I usually perform things like the full correct way, you know, and then like 6 months later I want to change it. So it's like, why did I put all that effort into no one ever seeing it and then me painting over it in 6 months or whatever? So I'm trying to learn how to work a little smarter with my personality. Anyway, and then the next thing I did was hang these hexagon artworks over the crib. Now this is something I made, pretty sure I was pregnant with my daughter when we lived in Portland, so 6 years ago, I guess. I had this idea to use paint chips that you can get for free at any paint store, hardware store. You know, the things that you make confetti with, I don't know, it's like a little puncher, and then you can punch out a shape out of paper. So I got a little hexagon, I think I ordered it online, and like spent so many hours, guys, like up, you know, staying up late, pregnant, and doing this. It was a lot of fun though, kind of meticulous though, because you have to decide if you want to leave gaps or if you want to get them like as perfectly close as possible, and matching up the pattern can be tricky. So you kind of have to start from like one area and then work your way out, if that makes sense. And then you have to like cut off the excess on the sides, and I just use like this really cheap set of 3 canvases. Anyway, so I had those since Portland. They're cute, and I think the colors still go well, so I decided I might as well reuse that. Previously I had installed them with a nail on the top and the bottom, and this time I wanted to try just using command strips or like the mounting tape. Yes, mounting tape, that's what it's called. And I really liked how that worked out, and so I just filled those, like every time we moved and I hung them up again, I would put the nails in and then cut out a new hexagon to like patch up what the damage that I had done. So I had to go in and like fill in those little guys, which takes very little time. I still have a stash of paint chips from that project, so I just run over there and grab some colors that look good and punch them out and just paste them right on. So I think it's a cool little hack. And then just recently, well, not recently, it was like 2 years ago now at this point, I wanted to like frame out those canvases, and that's where the wood is from. So my sister's boyfriend helped me with a project like cutting wood, and so we had these little really thin little strips of like the 2x4 where we cut off the rounded edge, and they were like the perfect size to kind of frame out these. So I remember being so excited that I, you know, didn't have to like fully build something, or like they were already cut in there. I just used this like whitewash stain on them to kind of soften that orangey tone. Secured them like, yeah, it's weird. I used like cardboard, strips of cardboard, and I glued it onto the back of the canvas and then glued it onto the little piece of wood, which worked because it's such a thin little strip of wood that it's not heavy and it's not going anywhere. So that's the story behind the little wood trim on the top and the bottom. So I think I featured these in a Target haul, but all of these adorable little dollar spot wooden shelves that are more decorative, not so much for storage. Most of them are like little rainbow shapes, and so I took those and painted all of those, obviously with the paint that I used on the wall. That's a good thing when you're painting stuff yourself. Then you like can go custom with everything, you know? So it's like customized color palette for your accessories. That was kind of fun, and it did kind of soak up the paint, so I did do a few coats, but that was, you know, a relaxing little thing to do in the evenings. As I said, this project, it takes a long time to get all the details just the way you want them, and take the time and enjoy it. Although sometimes I feel like it takes too long and it gets annoying, but so I thought those turned out really cute. Then I had this vision of having more of those like wood, like light wood tones. So I had this idea of getting a wooden dowel and using that as the curtain rod. The tricky part about it was finding brackets that were gonna fit such a thick, like it was 1.5 inches or something thick, pretty thick. And I was really struggling to find them, like source them like locally or cheaply. So what I ended up doing is using ones that I already had and just sitting it on top of it, and so it's not like fully in it, but it's secure. I made sure it was secure enough. So I wasted a lot of time trying to figure out how to do that. Because it's so thick, the curtains that I picked, it's hard to like open and close them. It's not the most convenient thing, but that's fine because there's blinds and those work well, and I can't remove those. And the curtains we ended up getting for the design of the room are sheer. They're not going to block the sun, and so they're just purely decorative, which might be silly to some people, but I like that. And we kind of struggled, like originally I had these curtains that were this cream color with a lot of texture that I liked, but they just did not work with the white on white palette we had going on. We needed something funner. And so I took my daughter to Target, and she picked out a couple of options, and that's the one that I okayed. It's from the Jungalow line at Target, and it's orange and striped, and I like that there's a pattern to it, but it's not overwhelming, and it's a large pattern and not like small and busy, and there's variation and organic, like it's pretty. And I was hesitant that it was going to be too orange and like only pull that color from the rainbow and kind of lose the rest of the colors, the more pastel blue and purple. But I put them up and I really liked it, so I decided to go with it. You know, we can bring out those other colors in other ways, like the hexagon trio of art kind of pulls those colors out a little more. It was a relief to finally have that window dressed and looking cute. And another problem I have with curtains is I prefer them to be from the ceiling all the way to the ground, because that creates height and makes the room feel bigger and taller, and it just looks more luxurious and expensive. But nowhere can I find local curtains that are longer than the standard 8 feet, 96 inches, which is so annoying to like have to order them online and not like see it in person. I've definitely done that in the past, and the color was just off, or like the text, you know, like the fabric is cheaper looking. So the ones we ended up with, they're, you know, 1 inch or 2 above the floor, but they're kind of sheer, and it's a kid's room, and so I'm letting this one go, letting this slide. And I love that that curtain is really bold and really balances the intense color on that rainbow wall. And yeah, I really like it. And then to kind of finish that balance of those bold colors, I decided to the left of the crib, you know, there's that wall space behind the door, and then there's a little more past that that was not utilized and can't be super functional, but I wanted to do something. So just use like one of those giant levelers that's, I don't know, 3 or 4 feet long or something, and you know, made that level on the wall, and then just use a pencil to like get those lines straight. And then to kind of create that arch at the top with my pencil, I just grabbed a, whatchamacallit, like a little pin. I pinned it, measured the center, and then pinned it right there, and then grabbed some, I usually use string, but I used fuzzy wire things, I forget what they're called, and just kind of wrapped it around my pencil and around the pin, and then just kind of whoop, you know, creates the same distance all the way around. And so I was able to kind of marry that. There was a little guesswork, it wasn't perfect, so I had to kind of go in with my pencil and fix up those lines. But that's kind of how I created the shape, and I've done that kind of technique before and it works well. You just have to, you know, when you're finishing up, be intentional and go in with the brush and kind of gently kind of fill in and solidify that line so it's not feathery, it's really like a strong, clean line. And yeah, we decided to do ombre, which, you know, is a little time consuming, but I didn't spend too much time on it. I kind of did that same technique a little bit, but feathered it in more. So with the red, orange to yellow, I slapped down those 3 colors, and then I went in mixing the 2 colors and kind of went in with that, and then kind of feathered it in and softened it a little more. And it's not perfect, it creates an effect and it's kind of cool. So I like that. And then to the left of that, behind the door, those IKEA spice shelf thingies, those kind of worked perfectly. So I decided to put 3 behind the door to make use of that space and also look nice and fill it in with something. And so I think we'll mainly just style books in there. My daughter always has to, you know, have a book in bed with her, read to herself when she's in bed. Having a place for some of those favorites on the wall is actually functional for us and cute looking too. I forgot to mention, I did put up a white shelf that's got like a lip on it, like across from those shelves. So when you walk in the door on the right, there's a little bit of wall before it opens up. And so up high, I put a little white shelf to kind of use up that space, and I put a little plant there that's like in water and a little decorative rainbow moment. And then this sort of macrame rainbow thing that I made in a Dollar Tree DIY, I ended up adjusting a little, I think I lowered it a little bit to accommodate the shelf. But that way the shelf's really high, so you're not gonna run into it or smack it. I'm learning to be mindful about that when you place stuff on the wall in like hallways and walkways that they can get bumped into, especially with tall people, so I made sure that was out of the way. I thought this rainbow neon sign was so cute and just perfect for her room. I think the placement of that just to the left of the window is just kind of perfect, and then I'm able to kind of hide the cord behind the curtains a little bit. So far we're loving it. My little sisters, some of them are about my daughter's age, came to visit, and I thought it was the coolest thing, and it was fun to have them come see her room, and so she could show it off right after we about finished it. So I'm excited to finish up this room, and so far I'm liking how it's looking. I should mention her dresser was something that we got back in Portland for like 20 bucks maybe, really cheap. I've painted it a couple times since we got it actually, but I just picked out that minty green color and painted it. I wanted to switch out the hardware. There was like original decorative, you know, that kind of style of hardware, but as much as I polished it with like the, what is that stuff called? The steel wool. As much as I polished it, like I could only get some of that shine color back. They were just so tarnished. I wasn't able to get them to the quality that I wanted. And so I finally decided to take those out and replace them. These were just from Home Depot. It's like a little gold bar. And I did have to drill a new hole for them because they were a little wider than the original hardware. It wasn't super hard. You kind of just pop it in one hole, put the leveler in, and create your next hole. That was a fun little DIY project. This cabinet here on the other side of the bed I got from the thrift store recently. We originally just had her stuffed animal basket there. That wasn't really utilizing the space that well, and so I wanted a little more storage, and so this little cabinet was cute. And I just decided to do a quick spray paint again because I might change my mind in 6 months and regret spending 5 hours like perfectly, you know, doing the whole thing. But I did use a primer spray paint first to kind of help it adhere well. In this little space right here, I've got a basket for some toys, but I want to put this cute little rainbow hook there. So I'm thinking like right here, and I'm going to use some wall anchors to make it secure so my daughter can hang an outfit or a purse or something. Good job! So the wall anchors that I plan to use to secure this to the wall do not fit. Good thing I checked first. But I think I found a set that will work, so let's try those. And then a quick little DIYer's tip to make sure that the wall anchors that you're using are fitting the screw you're using, because sometimes, you know, they can get mixed up. All you have to do is just screw it in by hand and then tug on it. And so this one obviously does not fit, came out, but I think this one, it will fit. So the same thing, just twist it in a little bit and then tug on it, and if it doesn't come out, then you know it's the right size and it'll work and stay in the wall. All right, now I think I'm just gonna paint those screws white so it kind of blends in. And I'm gonna paint these screws with an appliance touch-up paint by Rust-Oleum. This is great to use instead of like a regular wall paint because it's designed to stick to metal, and it's a thick, like you won't need to add like a zillion coats to cover it. So. I would love to replace the light, but that's not gonna happen. Oh, I should probably mention we removed the door to her closet just because it was gonna be in the way of where I wanted to put the dresser and everything. That's worked well for us. I was gonna put a curtain, but it's more functional to just have it open and be able to access it. All right, and I just wanna add that this room is not 100% done. That's kind of how I work. I eventually get most of it done and then leave it for a little bit and then come back to it. You might notice a few areas like the closet. We've done some work on it. It used to be quite a bit messier, but there's still more work to be done there. So I'll probably do a video of that, of some decluttering and organizing, and I think I need to label things better so that everyone in the household knows what goes where. hope you guys enjoyed seeing this little room makeover. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye guys. I still have to decide where I'm hanging these.